Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, just imagine this for a second. Growing your credit union's membership without spending a single dime on marketing. Sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how federal grants and some really cool new tech are making that a reality.
So let's tackle the big question right up front. Can a credit union actually use public grant money to get a cutting-edge member acquisition tool like Slingshot up and running? And, how does the money even work? We're about to walk you through the entire playbook, step by step, showing you how to do it and stay true to that core community mission.
All right, here's our game plan. We've got 5 parts. We'll kick things off with where the money comes from, then check out a tool that's practically made for these grants. After that, we'll dive into the application process, trace how the funds move, and finally get to the best part, the huge payoff.
Okay, first up, funding the mission. Let's talk about the fuel for this whole engine, right? Where does the money come from? Well, this whole opportunity starts with a specific federal program that's all about community impact.
So, how do credit unions typically fund these kinds of innovative community projects? Well, while there are a few ways to go about it, there's one really powerful source that's often overlooked, a federal grant that's pretty much tailor-made for this exact purpose.
And that source is the NCUAA's Community Development Revolving Loan Fund, or CDRLF. Now that's a mouthful, but here's what you need to know. It's a special pot of money set up by Congress with one very specific goal: to help credit unions spark economic activity in the low-income communities they serve.
And we're not talking about a small amount of money here. In the 2024 grant round alone, the NCUA made almost $3.5 million available. That's a huge pool of capital just waiting for the right projects.
Yeah, and these grants are super specific. They're designed to support things like expanding outreach to underserved folks, improving digital services, and rolling out new products. Sound familiar? That's because these are the exact kinds of activities that drive member growth.
All right, so we've got this pot of money, right? The big question is, what kind of project actually fixed the bill? Let's get concrete and look at a real-world example of a tool that's just a perfect match for these grants.
This is Slingshot. It's an engagement platform, but with a really clever twist. It can take a simple action, like a member riding their bike to work, and turn it into solid, verified data. And that's the kind of data a credit union can actually use to build real programs and services.
Now, the secret sauce here is something called the VIDAT framework. It's actually patented technology. And what that means is this isn't just some basic fitness tracker. Nope, it's a whole system built to create audit-grade proof that an activity really happened. And that audit-grade part, that is absolutely critical, as you're about to see.
And here's where it all clicks into place. Remember how we said the NCUAA wants to see results? Well, they require proof of impact for their grant money. So a tool like Slingshot, which is literally designed to generate that verifiable data, isn't just a good idea for these grants, it's a perfect fit. It's exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. It's one thing to have a great idea and a great tool, but how does a credit union actually go about applying for and, winning one of these NCUA grants?
Basically, it's a 4-step process. First, you got to check if you're even eligible. Simple enough. But then step 2, registering on sam.gov, you've got to plan ahead for that one. It could take weeks. After that, it's all about writing a great project narrative, telling the story of what you want to do. And finally, you submit it all through their online portal. It's straightforward, but you definitely have to be on top of your game.
So let's say you do all that, and success! Your grant is approved. Amazing! But now comes the really critical part that trips a lot of people up. How does the money actually move? Because it's probably not how you think.
Okay, this is probably the most important thing to get right. NCUA grants are reimbursements. Let me say that again. They are reimbursements. You don't get a check up front. The credit union has to pay for the project first with its own money, and then the NCUA pays you back.
So here's the flow, step by step. First, you get that official yes from the NCUA. Then, the credit union pays the vendor, say the folks at Dandy Horse, to get Slingshot deployed. Once the project is done and you're collecting that awesome verified data, you package everything up, the invoices, the proof of completion, and send it to the NCUA. And only then, at the very end of the process, does the NCUA deposit the funds back into your account, making you whole again.
Okay, so that seems like a lot of steps, right? You go through the application, you float the cash for a bit. So what's the big payoff? Why on earth would a credit union go through all this?
Because the payoff is an absolute game changer. It's something called zero customer acquisition cost, or zero CAC. Think about it. Instead of pouring money into marketing and ads, the grant pays to deploy this cool new tool, and that tool is what brings in new members. So when all is said and done, you've acquired new members at effectively zero cost.
Yeah, the whole idea is that the grant money essentially replaces your marketing budget for this project. You're not buying ads, you're not paying for clicks, you're funding an actual service that your community wants. And that service becomes the magnet for attracting new, mission-aligned members.
When you look at it, it's really a win-win-win. The credit union gets to grow and fulfill its mission with basically no financial risk. The members get access to cool new financial tools and services, and the NCUA gets to see public money being used in a super accountable, measurable way. Everybody comes out ahead.
So what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, a model like this could be a really fundamental shift. We're moving away from just saying we have a community impact to actually proving it with hard, verifiable data. And honestly, in a world that demands more and more accountability, that might not just be the future of community finance, it might be the only real path forward.